Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing this. So this is the live action Snow White. It came out earlier this year in 2025. And as a whole, this isn't a bad film. It is ranked very, very badly. I know there's a lot of complaints about this, but as a whole, this does not deserve the IMDb ranking it is getting, which is like 2 point something. It's not that bad. It really isn't. It does not deserve this. I think there was a lot of controversy around it for people's opinions about the actress who plays the evil queen, who is Gal Gadot. She is Israeli, and she obviously has some opinions about things that I am not going to get into because I don't have enough knowledge of it, and two, I'm not going there. So I think some of people's opinions about this film were based on the casting choices and not the film itself. The other big issue was the dwarves are all CGI. So that is an issue. They are creepy looking. Not going to deny the fact that they're not creepy looking. They're not one of the best things in this film. And that they didn't cast more little people as they should have. I agree with that. And again, they were creepy looking. But mind you, they did something kind of similar with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where they cast one person for a whole bunch of Oompa Loompas. So yeah, there's that too. So, which was also very, very creepy. But again, that was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and all that was creepy. You can check out my review of that. But back to this film, that was an issue. The acting was still fantastic. The songs were still good. Most of the scenery was fantastic. I'm not sure about the styling of Snow White. The reason she had short hair in the original film was because it was the 1930s. And that was the style of the time. Them cutting off her hair as a point of her becoming a servant is interesting. And them insisting on keeping her clothing style the way it was again an interesting style choice. And they were trying to make it more recognizable as Snow White, because the actress is not pale is not white by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I'm gonna check what is Renee Zegler is. Yeah, she's definitely not. Yeah, she's Polish and Colombian American. So yeah, they kind of had to change the origin story there, because remember, originally Snow White was called Snow White was because her skin was as white as snow, her hair was as black as ebony, and her lips were as red as blood. So they had to change because she was born during a snowstorm. So, and you do see her mother more often. Again, depending on the story, sometimes it's the mother who wants to kill her child. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a stepmother. In this one, it's definitely a stepmother. Mother gets ill, dies, and some sorceress comes in and enchants everybody and sends daddy off to war after he marries her. And apparently, then, of course, kills off the father and turns Snow White into a servant as a young child, and everybody forgets how wonderful the kingdom was. And she becomes a servant until eventually the magic mirror, as is the typical of the story, tells our evil queen that Snow White is the fairest of them all, so to speak. And she sends a huntsman off to kill her, only again, he can't. She runs through the woods. She meets the dwarves. Well, she doesn't clean the cabin in this one. Again, she's still in that very iconic dress, which very looks weird in real life. They really could have done something better with that. Nonetheless, She gets into the cabin. You meet the seven dwarves. They look really, really creepy. They have some fights about her. There's a little bit more messiness. They don't accept her quite as quickly. But again, remember, the original animation was the very first full-length animated film in the United States, probably in the English-speaking world, that we have access to. So, it didn't have a lot of characters. It literally, it's like you had the huntsman, you had Snow White, you had the prince who barely shows up, and you had seven dwarfs and the evil queen. And that was, and of course the mirror. And that was it. There was literally nobody else and a bunch of animals. And yes, the animals are here too. Yeah, the animals are everywhere too. This is not a bad film. It's weird. They have some very interesting choices, but it's not a bad film. It's just a little weird. But nonetheless, she runs into now earlier on, she runs into a man basically by the name of Johnston who's stealing. And then eventually he's kicked out. He's arrested and she helps him escape. She runs into him again in the forest. They have a whole weird, interesting, another song they sing together first when he's talking about how the princess should show up because nobody'd seen her forever. And then they meet again in the forest and they have a weird song, and then he's captured. Then the queen finds out that Snow White is still alive and turns into the typical, I'm going to turn into an evil crone and with the apple and convince you to bite the apple. And then tell you I'm the evil queen and I killed your father. And then she collapses. And then our boy Jonathan escapes from his prison, finds her there. They do not do the whole glass coffin thing. She's just kind of laying out surrounded by the dwarves. He kisses her. She wakes up and then realizes, my father's dead and now I have to take back my kingdom. So she goes back to the kingdom. She's like in this red cape. Also, Dopey speaks. He didn't speak before. And now he starts speaking right after she wakes up. It's like, let her try and we're going to follow you. We're not afraid anymore. Yeah, which is kind of interesting. But again, they're still creepy looking. So she shows up in the village in a red cape and kind of gets the villagers to find her. They realize who she is because she's been locked away for all these years. She approaches our evil queen who comes and tries to convince them to revolt against her, but then for some reason she remembers all sorts of villagers' names and starts calling them out by name and telling them who they are, like the guy who's supposed to kill her. It's like, yeah, you used to be a farmer. You used to invite people to pick your cherries. You have a wife. Her name is Eleanor. And then she calling a bunch of people by name, and they can't fight her anymore. And they remember. And then the queen tries to kill her, but then one of her friends who he's a master of a crossbow. He's actually a little person. Rescues her, basically shoots the dagger out of the evil queen's arm. She runs into the palace. Snow White follows her. The magic mirror gets cheeky and basically, yeah, Snow White, your beauty runs skin deep. Snow White's goes beyond that, and she will always be the fairest. And then the evil queen cracks it, and she crumbles to dust, and Snow White comes out, and everybody bows to her, and it switches to a song where everybody's dressed in white for some reason, and Dopey's reading a story about the happy queen. Yes, this looks weird. Overall, this is not a bad film. I would actually recommend watching it. They didn't have a lot to work with. So, could they have done some other stuff? Yes. But these are Disney live action remakes. It could be worse. Okay? These things could be worse. Do I like the styling? No. Could they have done some other things different? Yes. Do I care about Gal Gadot? Quite frankly, no. She's an actress. She's being paid. She's just an actress. Quite frankly, I liked her in the, was it Superwoman? No, I can't even remember. I saw it with my husband. We were still dating. Where she's World War II fighting superhero. But nonetheless, she's a halfway decent actress. Rachel Zegler. Yes, Rachel Zegler is not a bad actress. Does she look great in this film? Absolutely not. They did her dirty with that hair. They could have done so much better with this. Heck, they could have done the rest of the corset dress and the whole comb thing too. But again, that's kind of been done. So this is not a bad film. Is it great? No. Is it entertaining? Yes. Is it a little bit scary? Do not show it to your elementary school kids. My 6-year-old found some of it scary, though now she's asking to watch the entire thing. Yes, I fast forwarded through some of this. Yes, she is still awake. It is almost 10 o'clock at night. But this is due tomorrow, and we have a field trip. So eventually get her back to sleep. Get her to go to sleep. This is not a bad film. It does not deserve the IMDb thing. It's very pretty. It's a little weird looking, still very pretty. There's lots of pretty halfway decent songs in here. Disney is actually good at that. But it is not horrible. It's enjoyable to watch as a family movie night. If you're looking at various different Snow White versions, you don't have to be scared to go anywhere near this. It's still a decent film. It's hard to compare it to the original because the original was so utterly different. It was so much shorter. It was brand new animation. It was breaking barriers because of what it was and the time. It came out in the 1930s. This is the 2025. It was a very simple story. This had to be more complicated. They had to do more with it. Was it great? No. But is it a horrible film? No. If I was going to get a ranking on IMDb, I'd probably at least give it a 6.0. I mean, that is my opinion on this. So, if your kids don't like scary stuff, it's a Disney movie. It has an evil queen. They're going to be scary. I wouldn't recommend the original Snow White to them either because it's kind of scary. Does the evil queen steal the show? Yes. She does in the original. That is actually true to the original. As I mentioned in my original Snow White review, the animators put more effort into our evil queen. But there's a lot of good music. There's a lot of halfway decent CGI, not the dwarves. And she runs, and this is a massive spoiler, she wakes up, she's not kissed by a prince, she's kissed by a rebel, and she takes her kingdom back, rather than one running off away from her own. And who knows what the heck happens to her own kingdom. And she actually, and takes her own kingdom back. And she actually knows the guy who kisses her for, more than 2 seconds. And he's not interested in running off with a corpse. Which, yeah. Running off with corpses. That's the other rather interesting theme of a lot of Snow Whites. Please see my Monday's video. So that is it for this review. This is Kendra. She is almost 16 and a half. So if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I am going to be reviewing more Snow White stuff throughout the rest of this month, and then we are moving on to Sleeping Beauty, which apparently really bombed the box office the original cartoon. So we will be getting to that. So like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one, and I will see you next time. Thank you.